Hey guys, so this is going to be Logan's birth story. I'm not sure how long it's going to be, so bear with me, I'm sorry. But first things first, I don't know how much detail I'm going to be putting on YouTube as far as personal details about my life and things like that yet, now that I'm just kind of getting accustomed to YouTube and whatnot and making vlogs. Maybe the more personal details will come out over time, but so just bear with me. I might be kind of vague with his story, more so than with Ronan's. So first of all, I guess I was 37 weeks pregnant with Logan. The day I turned 37 weeks, I started having contractions. My midwife had actually gone out of town for a few days, and she was supposed to be coming back into town later that day. So I started having contractions at 1 o'clock, and they didn't hurt. They were very, very mild. I had not experienced any Braxton Hicks contractions previous to this, so at first I thought maybe they were just Braxton Hicks contractions because they didn't hurt at all whatsoever. And they started out very, very regular. It was every 5 minutes. And they were just little tiny cramps. And I started noticing them, and I told my dad, and he told me not just to keep an eye on it, and if my water broke, to call the midwife. But so I'm just relaxing all day, and I called my midwife after a few hours, and I let her know that I've been having, some regular contractions and everything. She didn't seem too worried. She was, again, on her way back into town. Didn't seem too worried because I had just had an appointment with her a few days earlier, and she didn't think that I was going to go into labor anytime soon. So I'm sure she just thought that I was first-time mom, calling about nothing. And so they kept coming, and she told me that if my water broke, to go into the hospital, or if they were getting to an intensity where I was in a lot of pain, to come into the hospital. So I had gone to a birthing class before that, and I figured that once I had had contractions for about 12 hours, that the early stage of labor lasts about 12 hours-ish, so that's how long I was planning on waiting. So it got to be 12 o'clock, and my hospital was 45 minutes away. So we get into the car, and we're driving to the hospital, and as soon as we get into the car, and I'm sitting down, because I had been doing stuff and cleaning and just trying to be on my feet and active that whole time, as soon as I sat down in the car, they got not super painful, but they were definitely hurting for sure. More painful than they had been, very intense period cramp painful. So we got to the hospital, and I started feeling a lot better once I started walking around. We got there about 1:30, and they checked me, and I was at 3 centimeters. And so we went into the waiting room with all the family, and we were walking around and everything like that, and I think I decided I wanted to get on my birthing ball at 4:30, and they checked me, and I was at 3.5 or maybe 4. And then right after she checked me, I was on my birthing ball at the edge of the bed having a contraction, and all of a sudden my water breaks. And my dad is in the room with me right now with my little brother. He was 4 at the time, or 2 or something, I don't know. But so my water breaks, and as soon as my water breaks, my doula was like, "Okay, Zoe, now the contractions are gonna get more intense." And as soon as she said that, I started having a contraction, and I was just like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "Do you want to get in the shower?" I was like, "Yes, please." So I go into the bathroom, I take off all my clothes, and I get so frustrated because I can't figure out how to turn the hot water on. So I get frustrated, and I walk out of there, and I'm butt naked, and my dad is like, "Okay, time to go." So he leaves the room with my brother, and I get on the bed on my hands and knees, and just having contraction after contraction after contraction, and they were just so intense. And, you know, I just remember counting my breath is what pretty much got me through the intense part of labor. But that lasted for maybe like 30 minutes, and then I just felt an urge to push. My midwife, mind you, has not arrived at the hospital yet. And I feel the urge to push, and there's all kinds of people around me and nurses around me being like, you know, don't push, your midwife's not here, don't push. In my head, I'm like, F all of y'all, I'm pushing. So I start pushing, and all of a sudden, like, the mood in the room just completely changes, and the nurses start whispering to each other, and, like, it gets really weird. And of course, I'm still in my zone, like, I'm still giving birth, so I try not to focus on anybody else. But then my midwife comes in the room, and all of a sudden, automatically, she's like, okay, Zoe, flip over, your baby's breech. And I was like, what do you mean he's breech? Like, I had just had an appointment a few days ago, and she told me that he was head down, so I was all confused. I knew what she meant by breech. I was more so like, how could you not know this? But so she flips me over, and she's like, okay, with your next contraction, I need you to push. And so I pushed 3 times, and he popped out. He popped out butt first. His legs were up by his ears, and he was holding on to them. And he came out that way. But yeah, he came out, and she handed him to me, and I held him, and we cut the cord, and he latched right on, and it was awesome. It was incredible. Let's see. I think that's pretty much the gist of the story. But I tore a tiny bit, like 1 stitch, tiniest bit, with him. But he was 5 pounds exactly, and he was 18 inches long. He was itty bitty with blonde hair and big blue eyes. But yeah, it was pretty intense. I did it all natural, no pain medication, which I had been telling everybody that was my plan. That's what I was going to do when I was pregnant. And of course, I was young, so all the older women who had already had kids were like, good luck with that. So yes, I did, and he was breech. It came out perfectly fine, no problems. Yeah, that's pretty much it, to be completely honest. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to be doing Ronan's right after this, and then I think Ronan's will be much more detailed than Logan's. But so yeah, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel, and we will see you guys for our next video. Bye.